When a person becomes too involved in the role they must play, it can soon become more than a role. Basil Carlo had trained for years in the theatrical art of melodrama. His talent for capturing the emotions and intensity of the characters he played was unrivaled in Gotham City. Basil became popular in 1884, starring in such works as The String of Pearls and The Ticket of Leave Man at Monarch Theatre. This quickly earned him a reputation for playing murderous and horrific characters, and he reveled in his newfound fame. Basil Carlo became a name locals were eager to see each time a new stage play came to the public's attention. Basil was also born with a rare condition known as Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which gave him unusually elastic skin and joints. This did not hinder his acting ability as long as he was careful, and his condition would not be diagnosed until 1909. Basil was an avid customer of the Sourlis Cosmetics division of the Sourlis Industrial Empire. He became even more obsessed with using their products once his ego got the better of him. Carlo became obsessed with his roles, with acting becoming his life. Soon, a new stage play began to be advertised in Gotham. It was custom-tailored by the Monarch Theatre to Carlo's talents. Basil was elated to star in this play, titled The Terror, which would feature aspects of a melodrama and horror in a unique capacity. He was to play the main villain, the clay-faced man. Basil took this role the most seriously, but this time he took it too far. He began to act on and off stage, terrifying his co-stars. He would send them death threats in character, stalk them around the theater, and claim it was for the role when confronted about it. The owners of Monarch Theatre were just waiting for an excuse to be rid of him after these confrontations, but it came more tragically than any of them expected. Unbeknownst to Basil Carlo and numerous other customers, Sourlis Cosmetics had been using white phosphorus as an ingredient in their products. This dangerous element, used in everyday products, caused numerous people to contract a condition known as phossy jaw, which caused horrible disfigurement to the individual affected by it. Basil Carlo was one such unfortunate individual, and his face was twisted and contorted into a horrible arrangement. He was hardly recognizable as the famous actor anymore, and the owners of Monarch Theatre saw the opportunity to gently let Basil go. Basil had enjoyed his fame for 5 years, until a new star came on the scene in Gotham. In 1890, Matthew Hagen, one of Basil's co-stars, began to draw attention. His talent rivaled that of Carlo's, and Basil had begun to grow jealous of him, worried that his career would be stolen from him. In light of the recent tragedy, the theater owners gave the title role in The Terror to Matthew Hagen. Basil's sudden disfigurement and his replacement in the play sent the former actor into a downward spiral. Carlo had reached rock bottom and lost all hope of attaining the fame and leading man status he had hoped for. Angry at everyone but himself, he was filled with rage and hatred towards Hagen, the theater owners, and his plight. He broke into the theater, stole the costume for the clay-faced man, and hid within the theater's storage rooms. He lived there for months as the production of The Terror continued. No one was aware of his presence there, but he intended to make his presence known. At first, Carlo's actions were small and written off as accidents. He would cause a small fire here, a loose hanging prop there. Once, he even caused the curtain to fall prematurely on one of the actors during rehearsal, injuring the actor. His anger increased as his attempts to sabotage the production failed, and Carlo escalated his meddling and became murderous. The first incident was when a stagehand was found hanging from the rafters by a noose. Next, a prop dagger was replaced by a real one, causing Hagen to accidentally stab another actor. These incidents became deadlier and deadlier, until the police became more involved. All the while, Basil Carlo watched from hidden places in the theater, relishing the pain he was causing. He thought of it as a way to inflict his pain on those who had so readily turned their backs on him. Police were unsure who could be behind the incidents, and were somewhat skeptical that someone was trying to sabotage the production. They thought it seemed more likely that the death had been a suicide, and that the other incidents had just been accidental. Unsure of how to proceed, the owners of Monarch Theatre continued preparation for the terror. Basil Carlo was now fully engrossed in his Clayface persona. Furious that the production was continuing, he began to openly attack the actors and stagehands involved, waiting until they were secluded and then striking. Some were seriously injured, some were killed. The police became involved again, but were unsure how the attacker was gaining access to the building. They continued investigations, but had only eyewitness accounts as evidence. No suspects had been identified, and no murder weapons had been found. It was at this point in 1891 that sightings of the mysterious Batman began. It didn't take long before Monarch Theatre gained the attention of the Bat. Performing his own investigation, the Batman witnessed Clayface using hidden passages and storage rooms to traverse the theater grounds. The Batman was not yet in the public eye, and no one was the wiser to his presence in Gotham. The vigilante soon discovered a journal that belonged to Carlo, detailing his activities and criminal intent. Utilizing this, the Batman confronted Clayface. Carlo pulled out a knife, and the two battled all across the theater and even onto the stage, dodging around props. The fight did not end until Clayface fell off of the tower constructed on stage. This account comes from the journals kept by Bruce Wayne during his vigilante career. The fall, while not fatal, incapacitated him long enough for the Batman to tie him up and leave him for the authorities. When the police took him into custody, Clayface's former colleagues identified him as Basil Carlo. The Batman had also left Carlo's journal for them. Basil was incarcerated in Blackgate Prison with numerous other criminals. No one was certain who had defeated Clayface, but many of his former colleagues were horrified to discover that he had been hiding in the very walls of Monarch Theatre. This case was one of the first cases solved by the Batman upon his arrival in Gotham, though virtually no one knew of his existence at first. Basil Carlo, consumed by anger at his failure, became lost even deeper in the role of Clayface. He eventually had to be moved to Arkham Asylum for the criminally insane due to his volatile tendencies. The production of The Terror continued, and it was a smash hit amongst the citizens of Gotham. It solidified Matthew Hagen's standing as the new best actor in town, with his performance receiving rave reviews. Clayface, in his own way, would gain popularity years later. His tale of lurking in the theater and stalking his former colleagues spread worldwide, inspiring such works as The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux, published serially in 1909. Years later, William Henry Pratt would take the stage name Boris Karloff after Basil Carlo's own name. Boris Karloff wanted to solidify himself as a horror actor, and the tragedy of Clayface served as a perfect way to do so. Clayface, consigned to Arkham, stayed there until the riot of 1892, when a large number of inmates would escape. The reign of the Ripper in Gotham would cause much chaos in Gotham, and Clayface would strike again.